Folks, it is Freaky Friday, and you know what that means. Ohio State plays tomorrow, and the Podcast Daily is ready to make some bold predictions that simply cannot go wrong. That's Bill Landis and Jeremy Birmingham. I am Austin Ward. Bold Peas are back, baby. It's October. It's Big Ten football. Ohio State, Iowa, 3:30 on CBS. Bill, what is going to happen?
I boldly predict that we will be wrong on all of these. That is my
No.
Okay.
The streak is over. I broke through last week. It was a flawless special teams performance by the Buckeyes.
Wow, that's
we're not counting that.
Nope, we're through. I guaranteed we'd get one right, and I delivered.
All right,
shout out to Jaden Fielding.
I also said Caleb Downs was going to have his breakout game, so
easy guys, one at a time.
No,
the exact same prediction that you just said.
I don't know what Bill said.
These don't count. I predicted there would be a kickoff, so I can be right too.
Yeah. I predicted Caleb Downs was going to have his breakout game. He did.
All right, we're on fire.
I think his breakout game was last year. Probably.
Maybe.
Not with the Buckeyes.
That's true. We all finally learned who Caleb Downs is after the Michigan State game.
I think we should feel good about that.
Yeah, no, I agree. So I get to go first?
Yeah, you sure do.
Okay. I've been trying to cook up a bold pea that I think just illustrates that I don't think that Iowa running back Caleb Johnson is gonna go nuts in this game. He's very good and also very strange. If you actually go through and look at all of his games, like Iowa State, I was just looking this up, for instance. Iowa State, he had 25 carries for 187 yards. 144 of those yards were on 4 carries. And then he had 21 carries for 43 yards. And that's really been his entire season is 2 yards, -3 yards, 2 yards, no yards, 1 yard, 55 yards. It's very strange. But he does lead the country in carries of 20 plus yards. So I think, and Ohio State has not allowed a carry of 20 plus yards this year. So my bold prediction relative to that would be that streak continues for Ohio State. I don't think Ohio State lets Caleb Johnson get loose for the types of big runs that have really been propping up Iowa's offensive resurgence that has taken the Hawkeyes from the absolute basement to like the top of the stairs leading out of the basement. So I think
halfway up the stairs.
Halfway up the stairs. So no 20 plus yard rushes for Caleb Johnson in this game against Ohio State.
You and I were of a similar mindset here, Bill. I was going to start with Caleb Johnson as well. He has rushed for 119 yards at a minimum in every game this year. And that came on just 11 carries. That was actually his highest yards per carry game of the season in that opening blowout, which was mostly a second half blowout, right?
Yeah, he didn't play in the first half. He was suspended. So he only played the second half of that game.
Yeah,
he still had 119.
The second half blowout, which was Caleb Johnson. So he was productive once he got rolling. He's been productive in their last 3 games, but Ohio State, historically, since I've been covering this team, has a knack for shutting down. If that is the thing you do, is you have an elite running back and you're going to try and ride that to a victory against Ohio State, far more often than not, they are not going to allow that to happen. And if Ohio State with Tyleik Williams back, linebackers that can focus primarily on shutting down the run, that I think plays into their strength. And they are going to hold Caleb Johnson under 65 yards and without a touchdown for the first time in the season.
That's spicy. Yeah. I was afraid to go total rushing yards
because they're gonna feed him 30 times. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. But that's pretty hot. That's pretty bold. I like it.
That's where I'm going to start.
He has more carries than Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson combined this season, which is kind of insane. But if Ohio State had one running back and Caleb Johnson was the comp, like they're both average, it's pretty equal. So I don't know. I think it's funny because I was viewed as like their running game is incredible. It's the best. And then if you look at Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins combined, they have 666 rushing yards and 8.6 yards a carry and 9 touchdowns. And Johnson has 685 and 8.3 and 9 touchdowns. So it's like the same. No one talks about Ohio State's running game that way. It's weird. They talk about how good these guys are and the best backfield in the country, but every time you talk about it, it's like, well, but their running game stinks. Like, Well, that's stupid.
Who says their running?
Who said that it stinks, Berm?
You know all those people. You know all those people. I am straw manning the hell out of this, and you're not going to stop me.
Boy, Johnny Strawman is just getting roasted by these stats.
I don't like Iowa. Okay, I think it's a crappy state. I think it's annoying. I think it's annoying how people confuse Iowa and Ohio concept. Because it's 4 letters and a bunch of vowels and people confuse them. And I don't like it. I don't like that people think Ohio is a bunch of cornfields because Iowa is. And I don't like when Iowa's running backs talk trash. You know what I mean? And that's what's happening. And I don't understand what world Caleb Johnson's living in that he thinks he needs to go out and talk trash. Oh, I wouldn't have picked Ohio State if they offered me. That's an absolute load of BS, sir. You know you would have.
It's funny that we talked about his lack of recruitment from Ohio State earlier in the week. He must have been watching the podcast daily and just got really offended by you saying that he only would have been recruited as a linebacker here.
I'm sure he was asked about why, what's it feel like to go back home, blah, blah, blah. And I get it. I understand saying, oh, I wouldn't have picked it anyway because you're at Iowa. You're having a good career. You're trying to get the Hawkeyes to pay you money. I understand. But, don't talk trash when you're coming into Ohio Stadium. You got family coming to town. Like you just enjoy the fact that you're getting to play in the stadium you dreamt of playing in your whole life growing up. Like that's a pretty cool experience. And why sully it by being salty? It's weird. Anyway,
in there.
What are we talking about? Football?
I think it was something about Caleb Johnson. I think we were just all going to make a prediction about it.
No, the bold P is similar in what you guys are talking about, but my bold prediction is that Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson will both have more rushing yards in this game than Caleb Johnson, whatever that number is. I don't know that they're going to hold him to 65 or less, but even if it's 85 plus, I think Ohio State both running backs will have more than what Iowa's done. Iowa is giving up like 2.1 yards a carry or something on the season, which is very good. But no one has had the ability to stretch out the defense the way that the Ohio State offense can, the way that Iowa likes to play with those big defensive tackles and Jay Higgins. Like, go ahead and try that, but Ohio State can actually run to the outside. So other teams they've played really haven't been able to do that. So you combine that with the fact that Iowa's pass defense has been a little bit more susceptible to the big play. I think if Ohio State can come out early and establish that they can throw the ball on the edges, that they're going to run the ball pretty well against Iowa. And I think that both Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins outrush Caleb Johnson.
Is this game going to be over in like 2.5 hours? Like if Iowa runs it 45 times and both Quinshon and Travion outrush Caleb Johnson, like, is that what we're heading for? I'm going to knock on wood.
Cade McNamara is throwing the ball 25 plus times a game. I mean, I was averaging 32 points a game this year. They're like in the top 50 of offensive scoring. So they're doing other things. So I don't think that's the case, but they want to throw the ball. I just think that they're going to need, if I was going to have any chance of winning this game, they're going to need to run it with Caleb Johnson 35 times. And I don't think they have the appetite for that.
Yeah. If Cade McNamara throws it 25 times, then that means that they're down by 28 points at the end of the second quarter.
Yeah, I think that's right. That's not the game script that Iowa wants to be following in this game. I think they very much want to hold on to the ball. And I think it could be a fairly speedy game because of that. And I think Ohio State will want to run it too. I have been thinking a lot about this game this week. I am wondering if maybe I am too focused on Ohio State's run game against Iowa, because it could just be that they throw it all over them because of what Berm said about the big plays that Iowa has given up this year. Like Iowa State hit them for a couple big pass plays. Troy hit them for a couple of big pass plays. They have a second cornerback who I think has gotten picked on a little bit this year. There's actually a very funny matchup in this game. Jamari Harris, the best cornerback for Iowa, just turned 24. And he will probably be covering 18-year-old Jeremiah Smith, which is hilarious.
Well, probably attempting to cover. He's had a good season. Like that could be a fun matchup, but I probably like Jeremiah against almost anybody. But just thinking about the way that Iowa is situated on its defense with Jamari Harris, who I think is a pretty good corner, Sebastian Castro, who I think is a very good nickel, although probably a better run support guy than he is a cover guy, probably lining up against Emeka Ibuka. The game could be ripe with opportunity for the third receiver, Carnell Tate. So I will boldly predict that the Colonel will finish with
let's call it 8 receptions for 137 yards and 2 touchdowns.
I like how you're like, I'm not going to give a yardage total for Caleb Johnson, but then you're like 137.
137 on the nose. This will be a really good kind of study of Will Howard, and I think just like how much progress he's actually made as a passer with all the zone coverages that Iowa's going to play. Like Will, I don't think we'll be surprised by anything that he sees, but executing, throwing the ball will require him to be on the top of his game, I think. But I expect that to happen, and I expect the receivers to play pretty well. And I think Carnell Tate will be the one who has the best day, given the matchups at play here.
I agree. That's why I bought stock in him on Wednesday, which you can't have. Even if
you
right
could sell it to him.
Right. I'll just take the bold P.
Even if you're right on this, you don't get to buy the stock back.
That's fair.
Wow. It's very selfish.
Yeah, I am.
This is sort of like a same game parlay on shutting down Iowa's rushing attack, and that is the return of Tyleik Williams and what that means in terms of tackles for loss. As Bill astutely pointed out, that can definitely happen to Iowa. They can be had in the backfield. They can go backwards. They've relied on the explosive play. And if you don't allow that, that's how that yardage total shrinks by losing 2 and 3 or 4 yards at a time. And Tyleik Williams, after a couple of weeks off, motivated to get back, I think he's going to have 3 tackles for loss. And I think that will be complemented by putting Ty Hamilton in position to make some plays as well. And he will add 2 tackles for loss of his own as the TNT combo explodes the Iowa offensive line and detonates Caleb Johnson in the backfield. So if we're going to use that as their nickname and they love it, then let's just lean all the way in. 5 tackles for loss for Ohio State's starting defensive tackles.
I like it.
I was giving up 4 sacks this year only, which is not a lot. I think Ohio State's given up fewer than that, but obviously their offensive line is always very good. I think the interesting thing about Iowa, and as you described it earlier this week, Austin, is sort of their Michigan light or whatever, however the terminology was. So we know they're going to throw to the tight ends. I actually think in line going with your tackles for loss situation, I think it's the linebackers from Ohio State who will get a lot of tackles for loss this week, because I think because Iowa has no deep threat necessarily on the outside, I think there's a real chance we see Caleb Downs and Lathan Ransom almost playing linebacker and being the guys in coverage against Iowa's tight ends and letting the linebackers just get downhill and cause chaos at the line of scrimmage. So I think this is going to open the door for a big day for Cody Simon. And I'm going to say Cody Simon is going to have 3 tackles for loss plus an interception in this game against Iowa, because I go back to the 2022 game, and certainly we don't have Spencer Petras throwing the ball to the Buckeyes, but Cade McNamara is not significantly better than Spencer Petras in my mind. And Tommy Eichenberg had that walk-in touchdown to pick 6 against the Hawkeyes 2 years ago. I see a Cody Simon touchdown in this game as well. So I think we're going to see a real big game from number 0, but I think that comes on the back of Lathan Ransom and Caleb Downs being able to actually cover the tight ends, which Ohio State's linebackers I don't think will do very well at.
How great was that Cody Simon stop on 4th down last week?
It was pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Awesome. Yeah.
Oh, when we were talking to him after the game, he mentioned that was something that they tried to do with Tommy Eichenberg against who was it last year? Penn State, maybe, and he just dove and missed him. So, like, the hitting the guy there, it's a perfect play call. You gotta know what they're going to do. And fortunately, Michigan State decided to jump straight up in the air with their quarterback for some reason.
That was an odd decision by Aiden Childs to try the old stand up QB sneak.
Hey, there's a missile coming at me. I should jump up and catch it. It's come right at me. That was all he has to do is move like 1 yard to the left or 1 yard to the right, and Cody Simon's just like flying through the air over him into the backfield. Like, oh, whoops! Just a little Charlie Brown it, but I don't know. Cody Simon timed it up perfectly, and it worked for the Buckeyes.
Block O having a big game. That's what I'm saying. 3 tackles for loss, interception, and a touchdown.
All right, so a couple bold predictions in the bag for all of us here. It is time now, before we get to number 3, to get a bold prediction from our special guest. Liberty. She is brought to you by Future Fan Sports, which is helping little kids become big football fans. There's that box right there. They are based right here in Columbus. They are awesome. This is a really cool storybook-led activity box. There's surprises, and it interactively teaches you the rules of the game, which they're hard, right? Like football is difficult to learn.
Yeah.
But Future Fans made it pretty easy for you, didn't it?
Yes, they did. Because I read all the book, and right now I'm like, I'm ready to watch the Buckeyes game.
All right, you are. And you can do that Saturday against Iowa. Futurefans.com/OSU. It's $49.99 for this product, or you can grab it at the Learning Express toy stores in UA, Worthington, and New Albany. Again, Columbus-based business. It's awesome. And they've got Liberty ready now. She was watching Michigan State and Ohio State on Saturday night, taking some notes, and now she's got a prediction for against Iowa.
I think Will Howard is going to get a running touchdown, and I think that's going to be for the winning shot, and so they can win the 5th game in a row. And so that's all I have to say. Austin Ward, what do you have to say?
All right. Well, that would be 2 weeks in a row with a rushing touchdown for Will Howard. He's talked about wanting to do that a lot more for the Buckeyes and using his legs and being a rushing threat. So you noticed that against Michigan State, and it's going to happen again against Iowa.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
All right. Keep an eye on that. Seriously, it's a great product. You can start unlocking a lifetime of memories with your family like Liberty and I have already done. And I'm sure as we track this, she's probably going to have more correct bold predictions than me, Bill or Berm. But we'll keep an eye on that. Back to the rest of the show. All right, let's roll it along. Let's get to bold prediction number 3. Bill, what's cooking?
Can I make 2? Can I make just a very quick one?
There's no rules, man.
We don't normally predict things for the other team. I think Luke Lachey is going to score a touchdown, just because I hope
Luke Lachey scores a touchdown.
Yeah, like the only touchdown in a game that Ohio State wins by like 30. I think Luke Lachey is going to score a touchdown. But that is not my final bold P. My final bold P is that in the process of trying to throw the ball to Luke Lachey at some point in the game, Caleb Downs is going to snatch that thing out of the air and intercept it. I think the activation of Caleb Downs continues as it should. I like Caleb for an interception in this game, and I also like Caleb to force a fumble because Lathan Ransom did it last week, and as we discussed on Wednesday night, those guys are uber competitive with each other, and I don't think Caleb Downs will let this drag on any further. People talking about how good Lathan Ransom is at punching the ball out. Caleb's going to remind everyone else, or remind everyone how good he is at it too. So a interception for Caleb for a takeaway, and then a forced fumble by Caleb. That I don't care who recovers it, but Ohio State will recover it. So it'll be 2 forced takeaways by the former freshman All-American who had his breakout game last week.
Before Austin, I got to say, I want Caleb to know, jealousy is a stinky cologne. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to be that guy.
He didn't say he was jealous. He said that they have that they're brothers.
What he's suggesting is that it's stemming from a bad place. That's what Bill's saying.
He's not jealous. He's motivated.
It's a brotherly, familial rivalry. Do you not want to compete against your brothers, Berm? I know you do.
Yeah, but only because I'm jealous of their success.
Oh. Okay. Well, I don't know if that's where it's coming from. Do you think, Bill, that when Jim Knowles is just sitting in the office, grinding on film, and then watching, who am I going to get asked about this week? I got to dig into this thesaurus and find something new to say so that the Ohio State beat will all write headlines and stories about the particular thing I say, like, I don't know, calculated path to success and activation,
and cold-blooded gentlemen. Yeah,
cold-blooded gentlemen. What's going to get the people going, and what can get some spicy new headlines out there? He's worried about SEO. I think that's what he's.
I think that's all it is. Yeah, which I appreciate. It's nice of him to toss some stuff out there for us, because then we don't have to come up with the words ourselves. It's great.
Yeah, it's great. Caleb Downs fully activated. CJ Hicks, maybe he can be unleashed.
Maybe.
Is that your bold prediction?
Unlikely.
I don't think that's likely to happen. Actually, not this game. Did you want me to go again, or are you ready?
I mean, it's your turn.
It is? Okay.
Yeah, we went Bill, you, me in this game today.
Wow. It's hard to keep track. I believe that Emeka Egbuka, I'm going to just keep predicting it until it happens. He's going to have 3 touchdowns. It's going to be a triple ding-dong in this game. If that's the place where the most success can be had against Iowa's defense, which is what I believe, and I think that Chip Kelly, Ryan Day, Will Howard, and then Emeka's dynamic ability to do anything that the Buckeyes ask. He's the chess piece that unlocks Iowa's defense. Like if they might have some success against Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson, that wouldn't surprise me. They're very well coached. They're fundamentally sound. The front is solid. You know, I don't think it's a knock on Ohio State if they choose to attack Iowa in a different way. And if that way is Emeka, he will finish with 11 combined touches, not just receptions, but 11 touches, 150 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
It's a lot.
It is
It's
a lot.
That is
he's
triple ding dong.
He's so good. It's I still feel like even after last week, because Emeka's 4th down catch in the run, the blocking he was doing, he had one hell of a game. And it was like, oh, well, Jeremiah set the internet on fire with 2 of the greatest one-handed catches that you're ever going to see. And it's like, Emeka didn't even play in this game. Don't even think of it. He gets so overshadowed, and it's like, I know that he doesn't care, but it just feels unfair to me, because in any other situation, people would be talking about Emeka as a Biletnikoff finalist after the first month of the season and what he's done over the course of his career. And I just feel like he deserves more acclaim than he's getting. At least I'm going to give it to him. And I know other people are too. Johnny Strawman. I'm arguing with you.
Everyone says he stinks.
Did you know that Emeka is 6th in the country and 5th in the power conferences in yards after catch?
Oh,
I don't know.
yeah.
They're getting him the ball over the middle and doing things like that and letting him catch it and run. It's a big difference when you can catch it in motion as opposed to catching it when you're stopped, unless you're Jeremiah Smith, of course.
Well, Jeremiah and Emeka are both doing that. Like Will Howard's accuracy and decision making with the RPO stuff in the intermediate, like he's almost not throwing incompletions at all on those throws. And when the scheme is correct and the decision is right, there's acres of green space in front of Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka, and that, newsflash, is not good for defenses.
And that's why Will Howard is going to throw for more than 350 yards this week. That is my final bold
Hold
prediction.
on here. Let's do some math, Berm. You have Quinshon and Travion both rushing for more yards than Caleb Johnson. You said that was going to be 85-ish apiece.
I'm saying you said 65. If they both get 70, that's only 140 yards. That's only 490 yards of total offense for Ohio State.
Okay.
So,
all right.
350 in 3 touchdowns for Will Howard. Rocco Beck threw for almost 300 yards against Iowa in week 2, and that's what I'm wanting you to understand.
Rocco Beck's good. Put some respect on the man's name.
He's the best quarterback and best offense that Iowa has played this year, and obviously they lost that game. Now Iowa State still only scored 20 points, but last I checked, for Rocco Beck, he didn't have a group of guys on the outside and in the slot that Will Howard does.
He has 2 very good receivers.
Are they as good as Emeka Egbuka, Carnell Tate, and Jeremiah Smith?
No, but they're
how wide would you say the gap is between those guys and the?
I think Ohio State's guys are 1st rounders and Iowa State's guys are like 3rd rounders, probably.
So you're suggesting that gap is substantial?
Yeah, I just want to, as we say things about college football, we just want to.
And what you're saying
he's just defending the North, Berm. Okay.
What I'm saying is Jalen Noel's a really good receiver, but he's not Jeremiah Smith. And if you have
that I agree with,
almost 300 yards of passing in that game, and I don't know how many yards Rocco Beck lost from sack yardage or whatever in that game. Now that doesn't go against passing in college; it goes against rushing. I get it, but this is a kid that doesn't have anywhere near the selection of weapons that Will Howard does, nor does he have the running back support that Will Howard does with Quinshon and Travion, which is going to force Iowa to not stack the box all game, which I'm sure they did for most of the game against Iowa State. I didn't watch it. I was at Ohio State watching their game against Western Michigan. But the fact is, Will Howard, as Austin said, like last week, he was started 13 of his first 14. He was 10 of his first 10 2 weeks ago. Like if he comes out and is rolling early and it isn't in a position where he has to speed himself up, which is the big key here for Ohio State, is making sure he's able to get the ball off clean, because Shea Higgins and those defensive tackles are going to cause some chaos. But if he can get the ball off clean and has time to set his feet and throw, I don't think Iowa can stop the Buckeyes passing the ball. And I don't even know if they need to run the ball for 150 yards to win this game by 30 points. But, the spread is 21 at this point. Will Howard is going to cover that by himself with the 3 touchdowns, and then whatever else happens. But 350 plus 3 touchdowns for Will Howard, and a recipe for teams around the college football to beat Iowa's defense this year. Unfortunately, as already alluded to, most teams don't have those guys to throw to.
Yeah, I bet they won't be able to duplicate the blueprint.
They can ask to borrow them. I mean, Ohio State got a week off in 2 weeks. Who does Iowa play on the 19th? Can we borrow these guys? Says that team that plays Iowa that week.
350. Will Howard only has one 300-yard passing game in his career.
Yep.
327.
That was against maybe the best defense he played at Iowa State.
Yeah, he was pretty good that day. 327, 4 touchdowns, and a pick.
Michigan State. See, Ohio State's off on the 19th. Michigan State, Aiden Childs can borrow the Ohio State receivers, and we'll see what happens. I'm loaning them out.
Something tells me that can't happen. I don't know what it is.
He can throw it inaccurately to them too. If the other team hit or something.
Hey, he's pretty good. Put some respect on his name. We're defending the North. Stop talking trash about Northern quarterbacks.
They're all great. All 28 of them.
All 28 are awesome.
They're so good. Yeah. So more content is still on the way. Believe it or not, if you missed us live and didn't come hang out with us for Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems weekend kickoff at Fairway Columbus, you can watch that show later on today, Friday. And we'll have pregame keys on the podcast on Saturday. After that, of course, all the normal coverage that you would come to expect throughout the weekend for Ohio State and Iowa. Thanks for joining us for Bold Predictions on Freaky Friday on the Podcast Daily. He's Bill Landis. That's Jeremy Birmingham. I'm Austin Ward. Have a great weekend.